out. What an outrageous adventure for young and old. Just a tale of two loves. What an outrageous I got to mute that. All right, I just started watching this, and we're about to get an infinite loop of our audio back through our audio. All right, one sec. No, that sounds pretty good, man. Well, two people are, yeah. I'm expecting a bit of a Wild West, to be honest. One of the great things about taking a break like this, especially when the meta was in such a kind of a bit of an ugly state, that being pretty much just and we didn't actually get a settling of the meta post the Space Marine nerfs, did we? We didn't get like a good 2 or 3 months post the changes to the doctrines and things like that to really get a sense of where Space Marine's going to continue their reign of terror at the top, or with things like Tau, who had just gotten their new rules, and Guard, and whether they were going to come up and be contenders now, or whether, I know there's been a lot of talk about NIDS getting a resurgence. So yeah, I'm expecting it to be a bit of the Wild West, and we're probably going to have a good probably 2 or 3 months of people just still like jostling to see what's good again. We also noted that we did have I know this is no strictly competitive podcast, but all the new ITC missions came out, and they didn't get we haven't got 3 months of data on them either. So people still don't know what's going to be the best possible plays for each thing at different tournaments or whatnot. So yeah, I think it's going to be a mess, and I think it's actually a really exciting time. I think it'd be the Marines still. Yeah, Marines. Well, as long as I think as long as you can get 5+5+ intercessors with Iron Hands, you're just going to take Iron Hands. There's just still nothing wrong with that. I mean, you don't kill anything nearly as well as you used to without the doctrines. But the fact is, you can take an objective and just never give it up. Like, you put 10 dudes on it with a 5+ feel no pain, 5+ invulnerable save, 2 wounds each. You ain't getting it. Yeah. Yes. Interesting that you have no audio. So who we got? We got Vodun, and Ian. How you doing, Ian? Whereabouts? Tell us about yourself. Whereabouts you from? What do you play? What are you working on? Anything at the moment? We have a whole 5 people watching. One of those being me. Probably you as well. So we have the conversation is using only one side. I can hold this whole baby up on myself. Attrition. I think attrition is going to be where we come back into. Firstly, I think a couple of other books are about to get their drops. I think once Death Guard get their book as well, they're an attrition-based army, quite potent. Necron's an attrition-based army, quite potent, especially if Necrons get anything to the caliber of what Grey Knight's got. Because you assume that Necron being one of the weaker books is going to get one of the better buffs out of Psychic Awakening, which has been kind of held true. I mean, there are a few notable differences. They're like Space. Unfortunately, I don't believe they got what they needed. Oh, they got
good stuff.
They didn't get like the one key component of every good aggressive list, and that's delivery methods. If they had gotten two good delivery methods in that book, they wouldn't have to get anything else. Just give them the delivery methods. Bam, done, solid. Thank you, ma'am. It's how good are impulses? That's again, impulses an attrition based army, especially when you stack the negative ones hit on them and the 4+ invulnerable saves. So 100%, yeah. There are a lot of different armies that can make good attrition based lists at the moment. Even Dark Ages, I've been looking at like 18 aggressives around Azrael. 18 aggressives in a 4+ invuln bubble. With you can transfuse. It's filth, mate. It's because I live in Australia. This is the Horde meta. I'm playing against guys who are playing like 380 grots, and that 380 grots are there for the sole purpose of keeping about 7 characters. So they're shock attack, just externs, and all this other stuff. But yeah, man, 18 aggressives, problem solved. All right, so Ian's just saying the Echo is back. He's from Maryville, Tennessee. Plays Necron, Salman's and Chaos Knights. That's a savage selection right there. Necron, Salman's, Chaos Knights. That's all your food groups.
I'm turning off different audios. We'll see how that goes now. You're not. I may have put the chat in part of your bubble here accidentally. So. The other side. Can folks hear you? That's what we need to know right now. Can't hear. Uh-oh. All right. How about this? How does everything sound now? Adam, I need you to say something.
You always need me to say something.
I do.
You do. It would be pretty crap if I just sit here and you just talked at me.
Yeah.
We should do that show one day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where you just say stuff? Or I just say stuff?
You just say stuff, yeah, and I just nod. Just like...
Yep.
We'll just get a posse of guys, like four or five other, just heads, silent heads, just nod along to the TPM.
I think we have it figured out now.
Working? All right, cool. They say it's victory.
I feel like it's working. All right, victory, we're going to take it. I'm going to try to lock some of this stuff in to where oh, crap, I just took you away.
Nice.
I should have the studio mode up. That's what I don't. So you look at it's a learning process, right?
Absolutely. And every time it's so intricate and there's so many steps that so I've streamed, I think I've probably live streamed somewhere in the region of 20 tournaments. Every time I do it, I've got to relearn the half of it. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? We've got a little chat going. We've got a ticker going. I don't know how to make the ticker go behind everything. Let me see if I can make it do that. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at that.
Nice.
Oh, this is growing pains, right? Yes, we do need to make sure we break out the oils and the incenses and say the appropriate recites to the machine god.
Question for Ian: what color scheme are you painting your AdMech, mate? Because I've been wanting to start an AdMech army, especially with the release of some of the new models, which are mind blowing. But I just can't settle on a scheme. There seems to be you've got your metallics are locked in. To paint the metallics anything other than the metallics just would be ridiculous. But there's that one primary color that kind of defines how good the whole army is going to look. I just can't seem to pick one.
But it's how much texture. You can go with a metallic, right? But then it's just what texture do you put on top of that metallic?
Yeah, that's true.
That makes it even better.
What finish you go for?
Yeah.
I don't. So one thing I'm not I don't know if I'm weird in this, but I like my golds to stay gold. I don't like edging my gold to a silvers. I don't know if that's strange of me. But I like just building up through golds rather than going to the silver because I find it too stark on some things as well, especially if those things also have a silver color next to them, which a lot of metallics do in the GW range. Sorry, the model range. So like, yeah, I don't particularly like. I like to get a silver and mix it with some gold and just build up to the brightest gold I can
Let me
get to.
counter a bit. There's no wrong answer, right? I'm not gonna. There's
No,
no hobby shaming.
no,
We don't.
absolutely not. It's just my
We don't go
preference.
with
Yeah.
hobby shaming. But I'd like to say that the reason you don't want to go up to silver is because you're a coward.
Okay. Where do I go from that comment? That's all right.
But it's really tough when you go for one of those things because it can easily look washed out. It could really look to where you don't. It doesn't look like a crisp highlight. It doesn't look like a natural patina. It looks like you just smeared silver on top of this gold. And that I agree with you. That's not bad. I'm sorry, that's not good. That's not
Yeah.
what you want.
What kind of a? So Ian's just saying you went with a darker burgundy red. So what actual color is that? You using a P3 or a G-dub or a Vallejo? Are you actually working off one, or are you mixing up your own? Um, Bruce Gordon, Paul has popped up 3 times on my YouTube notifications today. Hello from New Zealand. Apparently, Adam tried painting his house with contrast. Any truth to that?
Hey, what's up, Bruce?
What? No truth to that. Where'd you hear those vicious rumors? I won't stand for slander.
At least a little bit. You got to at least paint a little bit with the contrast.
Well, so nah, man. If I was gonna do it, it's old school. Base, wash, shade. Base, shade, highlight.
Okay.
If you're gonna paint it right. Not there's anything wrong with contrast at all. Actually, contrast is fantastic.
Painting a house in it would be quite expensive.
Yeah, how many pots do you reckon that would be?
I did the math on a gallon of Nuln oil at one time. Like how many bottles of Nuln oil would you have to take to buy to fill a gallon? It's obnoxious. No one could buy it.
It'd be in the region of like 1,000. Yeah, surely.
Oh yeah, I think more than that for a gallon.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Back to the question when I was just talking at you when you were asking me stuff. What is the meta going to look like when it comes back to being a meta again? And I was saying it's going to be a bit like the Wild West. And another big reason for that, if the people weren't tuning in, another big reason for that is people have had time to go away and not think competitively for a bit. So I'm guessing there's a decent percentage who've gone and done like love hobby projects. It'd been like, I have always wanted to do a pure witch cults, Dark Eldar army, and they'll play that for the first like month or two when they come back, etc. I know. Like I've been painting 30K Horus Heresy models. I love this model. He's a all the upgraded kid veteran sergeant for one of my veteran squads.
It's on a giant base. Is that legal?
Yeah? No, it's just there's not going to be on there. It's just a painting. Just holds better.
Say, hey, way to get those auras out.
Yeah, that's a big ass reroll one Zora. But yeah, that's just a passion project. That's not something I'm playing to play in tournaments. They're probably never going to see a 40K table. I just love the sculpts and I want to paint them.
I talked about that earlier today about vanity projects, and I don't mean that as someone like you're not vain, and so that's why you're doing it. But there's no other reason to do them other than they look good to you, and you can't. You've got to get them out. You got to get them out of your brain.
Yep, exactly right. But after I finish these, I'm going to go back and finish my Talon Masters off, and they probably will see some play, some good play,
like actual competitive play.
Yeah, although I've been trying to write a good Dark Angels list that doesn't have them in it because they're easily the best Dark Angels model. Like, I don't think there's any ifs or buts about that. But been trying to write armies that doesn't have them in it, hence the Azrael and the Aggressors bubble, because that could be a different way they could go competitively. Ian's just said pro Acryl Mahogany over a black primer, airbrush layers mixing Vallejo Hull red, and going up to pro Acryl Bird red. That sounds pretty good, man. I'm not sure. I don't know what the pro acryls are. Professional
I like
acrylics.
That browns and red.
Combo
is what it sounds like because that brown has red in it, so it's probably gonna give you real deep shades. That sounds like it's gonna be good. I don't know if you use Instagram, Ian, but hit me up on I'm at Fights with Dice on Instagram, and happy to love to take a look, see people's stuff. I only follow hobby people and hobby pictures. Yeah.
Nice.
When some, you don't get too many moments and places of zen on the internet, especially like on some of these mass social media platforms. But on my Twitter and on Instagram, it is just hobby stuff. I just follow hobby people, and it's really cool to go see that, get that inspiration. Like if I've ever, whatever, killing some time, or
Hmm.
just want to see some tricks on something.
Oh, dude, Insta's so good for inspiration. There was a custodes army that was built with a lot of granite pieces. It won. I think it was a gentleman who runs a podcast of his own. I can't remember what it was called, but I was sitting there just scrolling through my Insta, and I was like, "Oh, they're phenomenal!" And all of a sudden, I wanted to do a custodes army.
Okay, yeah, that's you
Yeah,
see it, you see it,
you
and
see
then you
it,
want
and
to
you're just
do it.
like, I didn't even think that could be a thing, and now I love it so much. I want to do it too.
That is completely okay.
I think that's the best of. Okay, I think it's one of the best things about our hobby plus social media and the ways we can connect now.
So my vote for what the meta is going to be like, and then is I'm going to be a little bit more broad than you, but not by much. Midfield control. I think that the Space Wolves, the Grey Knights, the Necrons are
Mm.
getting are all benefiting from Psychic Awakening, and then you've got Marines, and then you've got that old school build of Tau. When I say old school, you know, 8 months ago
Frustrating.
build of Tau, right?
Yeah.
Of things that can just go up there, land in the middle of the table, trade better with you, right?
Mm.
And then are able to score points. That's what I think.
I think that was the thing that I found frustrating about the tower release. Most of the other ones seem to be about trying to take fringe units and make them better in a lot of ways. Like I know that was definitely true for Dark Angels, which was the one I've been tuning into the most. Same was true for Grey Knights as well. Um, Take the fringe units and bring them up to if not if to really good levels.
Mm-hmm.
Deathwing Knights, I can't tell you how many times Deathwing Knights have failed me because they've never failed me. Every time I've asked them to do something, they've just literally gone and done it. Exactly
Okay.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
In one game, I had one unit of 10 charge, 12 Death Company, 2 Smash Captains, and Mephiston. Took them all down. Every single one knocked down in
Wow.
one turn. It's phenomenal. Um,
That's pretty strong.
yeah, that was fully buffed with every possible buff. I think I was attacking twice as well. Um, but yeah, that was a unit. That was a fringe unit. No one would even look at him you couldn't look at him with a straight face before the Psychic Awakening. If that holds true for things like Death Guard, things like Necrons, like we could all of a sudden we could see Lich Guard being as hard to shift and as scary as Centurions. I mean, they can't naturally don't have any shooting weapons. They can't kill things from range, but give them a -1 to wound or a transhuman equivalent, and whew, pretty scary, man.
Yep.
Especially when they can come back. Like, wow, they popped you tried to put a huge amount of firepower into them. They popped a reactive stratagem that makes them intensely hard to kill. That adds so much value to reanimation protocols. Like all of a sudden, all those people complain that you never get to use reanimation, but then
You got to
people,
smooth out. Yeah, you got to smooth out when they need their sixes. So if you get either more opportunities for the same unit to get sixes, so it ends up factoring out, or you got
yep,
to put in some threes and fours, or for
yeah.
them to get. Right?
But where the Tau one was different, the Tau one was different in that the stuff that was already powerful for Tau got more powerful, which I thought was a bit of a head scratcher. The fringe unit that they tried to make really good was the crisis suits.
Yep.
They tried to go bam crisis suits for a joke. Try and laugh at him now.
Mm-hmm.
He's like 5 layers of buffs. See if you can, see if you can not take these guys seriously, because
Yeah.
you can make a single crisis suit as good as a commander almost with enough buffs and stuff. Still crazy expensive. But yeah, that's what so like. Here's a prediction for you. If you were to predict what, let's say, the Necron unit that's going to be their fringe one they try and make amazing, or the Death Guard unit they try and make amazing, what do you reckon it's
Yeah.
going to be?
Okay. I hope that what's the flying like little small skiffs that the Necrons have?
Annihilation barges.
Not the Annihilation Barge, the piloted ones, the
Oh,
bikes almost.
the tomb blades.
Tomb Blades.
Yep,
I hope the Tomb Blades get a big push.
that would be cool because
The reason I say that because you typically need a lot of them to be effective,
yeah,
and recently you've needed a lot of them to pretend to be effective. So people have gotten they're 20 and 30 and 40 Tomb Blade deeps in their collections, and I would love to see them be able to roll that out
Mm.
in a meaningful way, a real horrific way for their opponent.
Well, I played against that earlier in the edition. I played against 27 Tomb Blades. I found them scary, but relatively like easy to work with.
No, it's
Like
manageable.
it's manageable.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, they do a lot of damage, but you can handle it. Like it's not overwhelming.
Yeah,
You take 27 of anything, it should be like, oh,
yeah, and I think they've got like a -1 to hit sometimes, and so
yes, toughness 5, 2 wounds, -1 to hit all the time, and then they can take a bunch of different stuff. One of them being +1 armor, one of them being a 5+ invuln, one of them being ignores cover. And I think you can take 2 of any of those. Might be able to take
yeah,
all 3, but then you'd probably get really pricey.
yeah. So I think that since you've got all that many, you should expect for them to do something. I know,
Yeah,
flayed ones, yeah, and then Ian mentioned he's only got 9 Tomb Blades. Man, you need at least 11 more. Well,
yeah.
okay, let me say that. I feel like I want you to need at least 11 more. But even just to kind of hang, just to kind of be useful right now in what's if there were no changes to them, I think you need a lot more and build around them being some type of factor for you.
I think my biggest issue with them is that they're bringing the same weapons you get on your troops. Like you,
That's not bad.
apart from is it the particle caster or particle shredder? Like they have twin Gorse or they have twin Tesla, and you can get the same thing on your immortals, which you have to buy, which you're probably going to take anyway, because you're filling out your battalions. I don't know. Maybe I'd like it better if they made that particle caster, the thing that they're bringing that you can't get somewhere else, more relevant. Um,
I don't mind. I don't mind that.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, I guess
that's a fair critique, right? I mean, but I don't mind that it's just a more stable platform for what might be a
mm,
common gun.
yeah, that's fair. You can just look at it like that.
I mean, you
Um,
get the extra movement. You get some. I know they have some tricks. I think they have a stratagem or two that's just for them. I don't know that people use it, but
there's whole pages of the Necron book people don't use.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I get since we're just kind of wish listing, I hope that they do get a buff that's something that is effective. Like because wraiths have always been pretty good, but
Yeah, I don't think has there been a time in the existence of 40k that race have not been one of the best things in the Necron range?
no, no,
I can't
never.
remember.
Not since the very beginning. I mean, they may not be doing exactly what they have done always throughout the years, but they're still very useful. Like having that 3+ invulnerable save multiple wounds is good.
It's never going to be bad. Like
Yeah,
never going to be bad.
monoliths are a good
Uh,
thing to buff up. I
if
got a
you,
Necron player friend. He just says, if monoliths are good, you're painting me one, and that's all that matters.
I could talk. I think I could talk about for about half an hour just on what's wrong with monoliths. But to fix them, literally, there's like you could almost fix them with giving them one special rule: give them quantum shielding. Like they're most of the way
Yeah,
fixed, and then just increase their damage by about 30%, and they're done. Like give them a same thing as like a Lehman Russ. They move half, they shoot the top gun twice, and quantum shielding, fine, they're great, they're good.
I can get behind that.
They might not be super, but they'd be reasonable. You'd look at them and be like, that's a respectful unit that could have a place in my army. And plus, it's sick and is literally it's the iconic Necron model. Like, there's nothing more iconic about Necrons than the monolith, to me
It
at least.
is. But it's still old. I mean, of course, the tomb. What is it? The tomb barge or whatever? Not the tomb barge. This is how long. This is how long I played against Necron. What's the big pyramid thing?
There's the obelisk, and then there's
The
the
obelisk.
monolith. Yeah,
The obelisk is where it's at.
I mean the story, the fluff behind the obelisk is fantastic. How it's holding a shard of a Catan, and it's a prison for the
Yep.
shard of a Catan, and
Yep.
then you open it up to release that shard as the Tesseract Vault. I just think that's sick.
Yep. So we know we got some cool Necron lore coming. Obviously, there's going to be some stuff that what's his name bumps up Sazerac. Uh, but yeah, it's gonna be good times. I can't imagine they're not going to join those midfield contenders, and I mean like
Yeah.
controllers on the tabletop.
Well, very good Necron players are still scary. Like they're still scary, man. It's just the problem is they're just a mono build now. It's just they're a
Yeah.
fringe mono build, and you can't really tinker with that mono build too much. Like, I'm personally not a fan of the 3 Doom Scythes. I think you could use those points. Might be better off padding out your mid-board presence, like putting in a chunky Lich Guard unit, or adding more Immortals. Immortals are legit, man.
I'm amusing anecdote about the Doom size. And you're playing against a Necron player, and he's like, "So you know what my army does?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. I know exactly what your army does. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
great. No problem. Just hope I go first. You know, that's what
there's
I'm
no
thinking in the back of my head. Like, just hope I go first. It's gonna be fine.
like
I,
the only actual X factor that army has is the staff of light. What is it? The one where they get to teleport. That's the only one where you like they could do something I'm not expecting. But everything
no,
else you can be
they
like,
have
yeah,
a stratagem with the Doom size or whatever to basically place down a radius bomb.
of the mortal wounds, yeah. But
Yeah,
what
with and so
yeah.
of course I had all my Thunderfires right next to each other, and he killed every single one of them. I was like, he said, well, you said you know what it is. Like, you know what I did? That's me. That's me.
The gentleman have corrected me. It's the Veil of Darkness.
Yeah,
There's a solar flare or something. I think it's a stratagem that makes
yeah.
him something -1 to hit or whatnot. But yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of in their army that I can walk in and be like, I don't know exactly what it's going to do. Like the Doomside thing, I can take that into account when I'm deploying, because literally they're going to get to use that if they go first on turn 1. Otherwise, I just knock down a Doomscythe and never
Oh, you
get
just
to use it
be
again.
4 inches apart from each other,
Yeah,
then
exactly. Yeah,
yeah. Just don't goon out like I don't completely and totally punt like I did,
yeah.
and then you're just fine.
We actually had a question from John Shaves. If you could pick one core rule change for 9th edition wish listing, what would you pick? And he said he would change armor save modifiers, armor plus invuln from D6 to D12, e.g., AP -1 becomes AP -2, AP -3 becomes AP -6. Okay. Oh, that
Very
being if you
interesting.
if you had would that mean a 2+ save on a D6 would be a 4+ on a D12?
Seems
Therefore,
reasonable.
yeah, therefore, if you were neg 2, or sorry, if you were neg 1, which would be neg 2, you'd have a 50-50. But that would be worse than it is now, because then a neg 2 -1 going to a 3+ is better than a 50-50.
Terminators used to take saves on 2d6.
2d6, yeah, and you had to roll. Yeah, I remember that. That was literally when I first joined the game. Very, very, very first. Like I was like
We
8.
used to always joke, see how cool the planet's going to blow up and that Terminator's going to live.
Yeah.
You know, that was going to be great. Going to be
So
awesome.
to his question, what would be a one core rule you would want to change?
Fallback would need to change for me.
Yep. In
Fallback
what ways?
it's too easy. It's it's too much of a fun sponge in my opinion. It's one of those rules that now I use it as the day is long, like it's there
Yeah.
for everybody to use, right? But if there's a disconnect in the enjoyment of the game if I very much understand how fallback works and you don't,
Yep. Absolutely. There's a
then we create
massive knowledge disparity.
and a fun. You know, that's what's happening. But I think the whole locking up and being around and the wraps and that kind of stuff, and it's on the strategic side. Maybe that's the tactical side. I think that's the tactical side of things is enjoyable for me. I do enjoy doing that, but fallback of that is the one that I think needs to be changed the most. Of how if you fall back, how you can fall back. Um, what are the disadvantages to you when you do fall back? Need a bit of a revision if the game were to continue to play like it is now.
Um, I the one I would like to see changed is morale phase. I'd like to see the
Okay,
morale phase become more relevant.
does
It's just
matter.
it doesn't matter. It's just not a
Yeah,
phase. Doesn't exist.
so easy to
Um,
mitigate. It's very easy to
well,
mitigate.
it's either you mitigate it or you game it. There's
Yeah,
very few armies that the morale phase actually happens to you the way it is in the book.
yeah.
Like even Space Marines, yeah, Space Marines get to reroll. I mean, do you know the only army that has one of the only armies that has a true morale phase straight out of the book is Custodes. Like the fact that a custode, like it's harder. It's like I said, it's a lot harder to make them fail morale tests. But
Yep,
it's more you're more likely to have out of 5 intercessors and 5 custodes, you're more likely to have a custode run away than intercessor.
that's funny.
It's just funny. Like
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way. I mean, again,
yeah,
because if I was in that situation, I was like, well, I'm just going to burn 2 CP, or I'm going to have him next
well
to a
yeah,
guy that
exactly
lets
right.
him. Yeah, it's just I think it's just too easy to mitigate. But at the same time, on the other side of that, if you were losing your models more readily to something other than combat, that is also a bit of a fun sponge. That's one of the main drawbacks Warhammer, like Warhammer Fantasy Battle, is that you'd spend all this time, building your model, and then he would die in this other phase that basically like a cleanup phase, which also a cleanup model
Yeah,
phase.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I'm more playing devil's advocate. I do not know what the right answer is, but I see your point. And so I guess those are two big good things to change, or at least
yeah.
two candidates. I don't know about good. Good is relative, but two
Mm.
candidates of things to look out for, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think those two good answers, to be honest.
Yeah. So midfield control, Necron's going to be great. We can wish list rules. These are all things we can do. I'm cool with all this on these chats.
Mm.
You never know what's
Yeah,
going to happen.
absolutely.
Yep. I
Um,
am still impending Mega Knobs. Got a stack.
nice. I'm in. This is my reward model. So I don't know if how well you guys will be able to see that. But that's the Horus Heresy Dark Angels Contemptor with his sweet twin Volkite
Okay.
and fist. If I'm a good boy and paint all my veterans, I get to paint the Contemptor. It's you know, give
With
myself
the
a little pat.
black, going with the black color scheme, or you going the green?
Black. So I've there's a great paint from P3, which is coal black. It's like a green tinged black, and
Okay.
actually I use that to just kind of pre-shade my black just to give it some interest. I still want it to be a black army, but I want it to have like a. I want you to look at it from afar and be like, even if you don't know the Horus Heresy color scheme, be like, pretty sure there's a Dark Angels. Um, so yeah, I don't know. And plus I like my black to not just. I painted a bunch of black
Mm-hmm.
Templars, and I painted them pretty flat black. And I'm very happy with how they're painted. But I look back and be like, I think I could have made that more interesting. And
Yeah.
so that's just something I'm trying to enhance a bit on this one.
There's I get real jelly of people that can paint black effortlessly.
Yeah.
Like you see people just do it. They're just. I mean, I'm talking about good, good black. That good black, like with the right kind of highlight. Not necessarily a gray highlight. It's probably a blue highlight, or they've got
Mm.
some depth of color. You can look at it, and it's got depth of color. I can't do that really.
Yeah. It is an absolute skill to add that. I don't know that depth. I don't know. It's like a perspective. Like if you look at black and people don't see the black bits, they see where the light hits. And it's one of my mates was telling me about it. He said if you want to paint, well, he was teaching me how to do pre-shade with an airbrush, and he was
Yep.
saying when you look at something, you get a light source, and you see where the light source hits, and that part where the light source hits isn't the color, it's the color of the light. That would be. So he was saying some stuff about light and color theory and stuff,
Some stuff, swamp
some
gas,
stuff. But
bouncing
he
off
said
Venus.
that's what you're going to see. He said when you look at it,
Okay.
you're going to see the bits where the light hits, and the bits where the light don't hit. The only reason they're there is to make the bits where the light is more noticeable or more contrasty or more interesting. Um, and so yeah, that's what I guess I've been trying to do with the green on the black was to show some high points that'll still look black,
Yeah.
but when they draw the eye, you'll have a point of difference. And the people who can do that, like people who can just, there are people who can naturally just look at a model and be like, I'm just going to paint the light source like this, and they'll just go and they're like, holy crap, it looks like there's actually a lamp on that model, and I don't like you anymore. In fact, unfriend, unfollow.
we now have some beef. Andrew back on the morale phase. He's saying, bring back the 2d6. No
I
modifiers. Just let it
Yeah,
roll.
just let it roll, man. How much more relevant would that be? Like, I mean,
Well, there's going to be a fine line, right? I mean, I think that anytime that you revise the game now, the length of time that it takes to play the game is a factor.
very
Does
really.
the game look good on camera? That's another factor. And if I can take a like a cue from Magic here, that
Yep.
sounded like magic. Is that there's a very powerful like series of cards called the fetch lands
Mm,
in Magic, to where you play the card, you sacrifice the card, and then it goes and lets you troll through your deck and find a basic or a land of a type that was listed on the card, and then put it on the battlefield.
yeah.
that doesn't seem too complicated, except when you're playing at the highest level of competition, where you have to search through your deck, pull it out, which you're sleeved, by the way, so they're maybe not even flowing the way, like you normally would expect a deck of cards to play. Find it, put it there. You have to shuffle your deck an appropriate amount of time while not looking at it to not give any, I guess, sense of impropriety. And then you have to offer it to your opponent to then shuffle
Yeah.
the deck.
Yep.
And then they have to shuffle the deck with the same thing and then hand it back to you, and then you're ready to complete the next step in the game. So, and then when you factor out that people have 4, 8, 12, 16 of these lands in their deck, they each do, what you create is this time buffer that doesn't necessarily look good on camera, and it's caused Wizards to reevaluate how often they introduce these types of cards into the formats.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be pivotal things that they don't quite win or lose you the game themselves, but what they do is they add a level of consistency and reliability that kind of changes the way the game plays.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what fetch lands do. They enable you to just have a much more consistent deck.
Yeah, they're great. No, they're amazing. Everyone wants them because they are amazing. They thin your deck. They smooth out your mana curves. They do every single thing that they are the Gilliman of every deck is what smooths out the variance, gives you exactly what you need. So people play with them, but when they play with them, it creates this kind of weird thing. And so now there's at least a consideration on that in a game. And I think if we may see considerations like that. And I guess where I'm long way of getting back to that, but in the morale phase, that's what you're doing. That's a lever you can pull to slow or speed the game up.
Yeah, exactly right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Does that make
there's
sense?
There's got to be some kind of mechanic they could put in there that would do a similar thing for tabletop games.
Yeah.
I've sent you a message, Paul. My boss keeps calling me. So I think
we can wrap this up. We've been doing this for a bit. Guys, I appreciate y'all jumping in the chat, especially when we just kind of rolled this out, and then also the feedback for our audio issues. If you haven't already, maybe like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell. That way, when we do randomly do this, you might get a notification of it. This has been an interesting chat. I've really enjoyed talking about
absolutely
what the meta is going to look like, board control, some hobby stuff, and then wish listing a few things.
And thanks very much for the guys who posed us questions. Some damn good questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really good.
Man, have a good night, man.
Good night and adieu.
See you, everybody.
See ya.